Artificial sweeteners, including aspartame, acesulfame K, sucralose, and other non-nutritive compounds, are commonly marketed as zero-calorie alternatives to sugar, appealing to individuals seeking weight control or blood sugar management. However, emerging research reveals that these sweeteners may have unintended and potentially dangerous effects on appetite regulation, energy balance, and liver health. Rather than simply providing a harmless sweet taste, artificial sweeteners interact with the brain's reward system, hormonal signaling, and gut microbiota in ways that can paradoxically increase overall caloric intake, promote fat accumulation, and indirectly burden the liver. One of the key mechanisms involves the brain's reward circuitry. Sweet taste normally signals the ingestion of energy to the brain, activating dopamine pathways that regulate satiety and meal satisfaction. Artificial sweeteners provide sweetness without calories, creating a mismatch between sensory perception and actual energy intake. Over time, this can blunt the brain's ability to accurately gauge energy needs, reducing satiety signals and prompting compensatory overeating. Individuals may unconsciously consume more calories later in the day, often in the form of high-fat or high-sugar foods, to satisfy the energy deficit that the sweet taste failed to deliver. This pattern effectively undermines the purpose of using artificial sweeteners for weight management or metabolic health, and it contributes to cumulative energy surplus, a critical driver of liver fat accumulation. Artificial sweeteners also influence hormonal regulators of appetite, such as ghrelin and leptin. Studies suggest that aspartame and acesulfame K may increase ghrelin secretion, the hormone that stimulates hunger, while simultaneously impairing leptin sensitivity, which normally signals fullness. This hormonal disruption reinforces cravings, promotes snacking behavior, and favors the overconsumption of calorie-dense foods. The liver, which plays a central role in processing dietary sugars, fats, and excess calories, bears the metabolic burden of these repeated energy surpluses. Chronic overconsumption induced by disrupted appetite regulation can accelerate triglyceride synthesis within hepatocytes, contributing to the development of non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, NAFLD. Compounding the problem, artificial sweeteners also appear to impact the gut microbiome. Emerging evidence shows that non-nutritive sweeteners can disrupt microbial diversity, favoring bacteria associated with metabolic dysfunction and inflammation. Gut dysbiosis increases intestinal permeability, allowing bacterial endotoxins to enter circulation, which triggers low-grade systemic inflammation and hepatic stress. This indirect gut-liver pathway amplifies the metabolic impact of overeating induced by artificial sweeteners, further promoting fat deposition and insulin resistance in the liver. The long-term implications are particularly concerning because these effects are often silent and cumulative. Individuals may not notice immediate weight gain or liver dysfunction, but habitual use of artificial sweeteners can subtly reinforce overeating patterns, metabolic strain, and hepatic triglyceride accumulation. Adolescents and young adults, whose reward systems and metabolic signaling pathways are still developing, may be especially vulnerable to these disruptions, increasing the risk of early-onset NAFLD and long-term metabolic disorders. Adults with pre-existing insulin resistance or obesity are also at heightened risk, as the liver is already burdened by impaired glucose and lipid metabolism. Behavioral factors exacerbate the risk. Many people consume diet sodas, sugar-free desserts, or sweetened protein powders under the assumption that these products are metabolically neutral. This often leads to larger portion sizes of other foods or indulgence in high-calorie meals, further compounding hepatic fat accumulation. Unlike whole foods or beverages that provide both energy and satiety, artificial sweeteners decouple taste from caloric intake, undermining the natural feedback mechanisms that regulate liver metabolism and overall energy balance. In conclusion, artificial sweeteners are far from benign with respect to appetite regulation and liver health. Compounds such as aspartame and acesulfame K can disrupt reward pathways, hormonal signals, and gut microbiota, promoting overeating and higher caloric intake later in the day. These effects indirectly overload the liver, accelerate triglyceride deposition, and increase the risk of non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. While marketed as a zero-calorie solution, habitual reliance on artificial sweeteners can silently undermine metabolic health and liver function, particularly when paired with modern diets rich in processed foods and added sugars. For individuals concerned about long-term liver health, Minimizing artificial sweetener intake and focusing on whole, nutrient-dense foods that provide natural satiety is a critical strategy to prevent progressive hepatic fat accumulation and metabolic dysfunction.